1987. My name is Joe Todd, and this is an interview with Mr. James Davidson at the Four Seasons in Oklahoma City on South Walker. Mr. Davidson, where were you born?
Nashville, Tennessee.
And when's your birthday?
22nd of August. 22nd of August.
What year?
1922. 1922, I'll put it through.
What year you say you were born?
84.
84? 1884?
Yeah.
Who was your father?
George W. Davidson.
And your mother?
Her name was Kathleen McCain.
McCain?
Kathleen McCain.
Where were your parents from?
Well, my father and mother both raised in Alabama.
Alabama?
That was the start of it for me. But my mother was raised in Alabama. Selma, Alabama. Coleman County, Alabama.
What about your father? Where was he raised?
Well, that's not all I can tell you. That's where he was raised too.
He was from Alabama?
He was part Tennessee Indian.
Yeah, okay.
He was part Tennessee Indian. But I can't tell you how much.
Was your father in the Civil War?
No. He just some mention when it was over.
What about your grandfather?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah?
No, I wouldn't know. My
Do you-
grandmother was a school teacher.
She was?
Yeah, my grandmother on my mother's side, she sits at Coleman, Alabama, before Coleman was ever built. That is before, during the war before.
Yeah. What was your grandmother's name?
Kathleen McCain.
Kathleen McCain?
Yeah.
And you say she taught school in Coleman, Alabama? She taught school in Alabama?
Oh no, I never knew because I never went in Alabama.
Yeah.
Only when I went back.
Mm-hmm.
But this time after I was grown.
Why did your parents move from Alabama to Tennessee?
Well, I don't know much to me in that little. Now them days you did homestead land. In that country, that during them times, after the war, you ran. You settled on it and proved it up. And when you proved it up, the government gave you an easement.
How do you prove up the land? What do you have to do?
Build a home, a log house, and then a log house. I was born in a log house.
You were?
Yeah, and as well as I know, in 1922, the most of it was still there. I went back to that 1922, and the state had come to the state. It's the federal state now. They made a big park out of it for my father, where I was born. I hadn't been back since 1922, 19.
How long did you live in Tennessee?
I think the best I can tell you, I was about 7 years old, 5 to 7 years old, but we left Tennessee, go to Nebraska, moved to Nebraska
How did you move to Nebraska?
by train.
By train?
Yeah.
Did your father say why you moved to Nebraska?
So he went ahead and got a home ready, and in the fall after everything went up, they got sold out, tobacco crop. Now this will be pumpkin field. That was the money crop. That was tobacco. And they sold $2,000 worth of tobacco. And now,
Why did your family move to Nebraska?
well, they all just for the country to be settled up then. That's when Nebraska was settled up. Was it 1898 or 99?
Oh, thank you. Oh, she cooked on a fireplace in Alabama and Tennessee?
Tennessee, yeah.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah.
and we raised on cornbread, milk.
Yeah. Was your grandfather killed in the Civil War?
I don't know. I never found that out.
Mm-hmm. Um,
My father, my grandfather, was old Sheriff Hobart, Cherokee Indian. My grandfather. But my father, he was about 3/4, I think, the best I can say.
yeah. I understand that your family took the name Davidson.
Well, let me tell you, the best I know of my grandmother is that when my father was just a boy during the war, and the rebels, they call them, come along, killed all the hogs and horses, and they left them one mule, and Pappy was not Pappy and his brother, my father and his brother was adopted out. So some people buy the name of Davidson. Now that's where we from by our name. Was that he was adopted out too. He was 3/4 Cherokee Indian.
What was the name before Davidson?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Well, see, I was just a little boy when my grandmother died.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was about maybe 11 years old when my grandmother died.
Mm-hmm.
And we kids never got much schooling.
Did you move to Nebraska in '89?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how long did you stay in Nebraska?
Well, I stayed for 1917. I stayed for 1917.
Did you move to Missouri?
Huh?
Did you move to Missouri?
No. Well, yes, it is. Yes, it is. In 1891,
Yeah, 1901.
wait a minute, 1891, 1890, 1892, we lived in Potato, Missouri. And we moved to Jefferson City in about 1900. My father got struck by lightning, and my brother and I, just older than me, we had the family. Well, Pat, they found out they did a doctor for Pat, his head was busting open, and he was out, you know, there's no and just watch it. And they found out that the doctor in Jefferson City, Missouri, that could help him, and pulled out everything from Creighton, Nebraska, that's Knox County, Nebraska, and moved to Jefferson City, Missouri, and doctored him, and never did cure him for his, you know, blues, but we kept him till he died.
Did your father work for the railroad?
Huh?
Did your father or did you work for the railroad?
No.
Did
No.
you?
Not that I know of.
Did you work for the railroad?
Oh, me and my brother did, but on different parts of the railroad. From the Rock Island Railroad, built from the state of Missouri, but we lived in Elmer, Missouri, and was holding groceries from Elmer to Potato, Missouri, the wagon road, and the New Rock Island Railroad started building, and we kept my father and mother and the rest of the family together and followed that railroad to Kansas City, Missouri. Worked on that railroad. Worked 16 on the railroad.
What exactly were your duties on the railroad? Tell me again what you did.
I don't know none of my kinfolk.
No, what kind of work did you do for the railroad?
Teamwork.
Teamwork?
They were building that new railroad from Missouri, from Salem, Missouri, before we come there to Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
He said, we're coming all the way. And then they all finally started what they call Sioux Creek, Missouri, a little new town, but it's a big, big town now, and Kotzebue. We stayed there then for 1907, what's that? So we moved I changed on a railroad job to Howell, Oklahoma. And 1907 now, we was Howell, Oklahoma, when Oklahoma became a state. 1907.
You said that you lived in army tents?
Huh?
Did you live in the old army tents when you worked for the railroad?
So we lived in tents, and have tent built houses. And lots of times, of course, we had children go to school. We went farmhouses, empty farmhouses, and lived in them, where we sent children to school, younger brothers, sisters.
Do you remember Statehood Day in Oklahoma?
Huh?
Do you remember Statehood Day when Oklahoma became a state, 1907? That was November 16th.
No, not for Oklahoma, no, not for Oklahoma come state. But we was in Howell, we were living in Howell, and Oklahoma became a state.
Yeah. Was there a big celebration on that day?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Oh, it'd be hard to we never seen a train, carrying flags and honors. It was a big show. Because them days you didn't see as much as you see now. There wasn't as much to see.
How big was Hal?
But how? Oh, it was more than 9-10 times. There's that many. Just a little small town. I don't think there's any. Well, the last time I was through there was no town at Howell.
Where was Hal located?
I think the best I can tell you, it was somewhere about 40 miles south of Poco, Oklahoma. That's Poco, Oklahoma. That's a big town.
What's the name of it?
Poco.
Poto, okay. I understand that you moved to Ada.
Yeah, we moved there. Well, that means my brother and I was working at a cement plant at Independence, Missouri, and they got through, and by this time I got mad, and the family of my own, one, and we got a job at Howell, Oklahoma, where it was over. We had a little job there, and we went down there and going to do that waiting for that cement plant at Ada. Start, and we go over that, they were shipping us down there. That is on that half boat. And we were going to go to work later when that plant started and the depression hit. And I hear something here lots of people don't know. We had money. We was broke, Ben and I. That's a little older than I. We had money to pay away. And we couldn't get about 6% of our own money.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Because it wasn't that habit.
Was that the Depression of 1907?
Yeah. And they'll always say, of course, I just don't start no politics. With me especially. They did a lot of people. They hauled about Roosevelt, never had the pleasure on the Roosevelt administration. What the hell is all that? We give away better horses out of our people that were no feed, you couldn't buy feed. We couldn't even, we had couldn't get our own money. Couldn't get enough money of our own money to buy, to go ahead with. So he took part of the horses. We picked the horses up, and he took part, he went back to Kansas City, and I leased me a farm over in Arkansas. That's what my wife and I started out farming that way.
Tell me about the first state fair.
Huh?
The first state fair in Ada in 1907.
Oh. Well, now, we didn't live right. I never did live right in either.
But did you mention that you went to the state fair?
That was state fair. That we went to. That was 1907.
Yeah, tell me about that fair.
I never go. All we did was there just long enough to be there, and that's all. We were camped in south of Ada, where that Ada Lockwire was for the cement plant. Well, that never did develop, and I was in the farm, and went back to the farm, and that's after that. But that's 1907.
Did they have an airplane there at the state fair?
No, that's the first automobile that we've seen in that island. That's old Buick and all of that. 7 years on the outside. Old bald up Buick.
Tell me about working in the oil fields.
Well, the worst of about all happened to me. I got burned up twice. 2 people got burned up with me. I'm burned all to pieces. And that's half what put me in men. Oil fires, you ain't seen nothing yet. I hate to talk about it.
You don't like to talk about it?
I don't tell people much. They don't believe it.
Would you tell me about it?
Well, when they be getting on that long gas fire, there were 2 people. One plumb up with me. You couldn't tell one from another. But my 2 feet, I knocked till 18 weeks. I never got over it. That's what put me in shape, and then part of it. No just an explosion. They said, now I'm talking what the papers come out of the papers. Now this was a Seminole film I'm talking about. They claim they picked me up 85 feet before the explosion was. And you'll know when that is, it boomed by the old. Don't know what caused it. Electric short somewhere. That's that all.
Was that near Seminole or Drumright?
Seminole. East, North Seminole, northeast.
Would you give me a description of Seminole when the oil boom was going on?
Oh my God, man. Yeah. If you had any money, you better stay home and put your hand on it. And if you want to live, stay outside of the night. Now that's what we did.
Were there many saloons there in Seminole?
And this is about what anywhere you wanted it. Out of somebody's pocket.
I heard they had a place called Hell's Half Acre.
And they did.
What was that place?
Oh God, I never went down there. Not too much of a crowd. I had read it. You know, I never tell nobody about that. I don't even talk about it. And no one what I know. And it was just as common, man, to pick up 7 or 8 dead men on Truck Street, that south part down the railroad track. Now, it come out in the paper now. It had to be part of, they found about 11 dead men one morning down in Seminole. That nobody knew. They had trouble finding the identity of them.
Why were they killed?
Huh?
Why were they killed?
Oh, book riding. Robbery. Hell, they kids it out for quarters. I never went outside of the night.
How long did you live there?
Oh, I went there in 1920. About 9 years.
Yeah.
I left in 13.
Yeah. Tell me about Drumright.
About 35 miles west of you know where Cushion is?
Where?
Cruising, Oklahoma.
Cruising? No?
Well, then I know it's appropriate that kind
Yeah.
of feet. But it's about 30 35 miles west of the Papa.
What did it look like in the early days, drum right?
Hell. And if you had any money, stay home and keep your hand on it.
Was it a town kind of like Seminole in the oil boom?
They were both. They pick up dead in every morning. Then you ain't gonna believe that. Now, I didn't count them. Those times I said it. But there was one morning in the Seminole, Jack Ayers, the chief of police, called me with telephone and told me to come in and see if I could identify somebody. And then it would make your eyes hurt. Make your eyes hurt to see 7 or 8 or 10 men there that had been killed during the night that nobody knew. No identification. What the devil gonna do with people like that?
Guess just bury them.
Huh?
Just bury them, I guess. Was the flu epidemic in those boom towns?
Huh?
And the flu epidemic?
They hit twice in Seminole. They hit like to run that town at one time. That flu epidemic. You couldn't get it off. But you couldn't have done right either.
Did many of those men die in the epidemic?
Well, in our camp, we called it, that Seminole, there was a whole family of people died except one boy about 7 or 8 years old. And he had the addiction when they all had it, and he didn't get he didn't get that flu.
Understand that you worked for a foreign oil company.
Oh, I worked for several different oil companies.
Worked for Phillips?
Huh?
Worked for Phillips?
The Phillips, I worked for the Phillips more than anybody else. The Phillips, fine old man. I knew him personally.
Oh, Frank Phillips?
Yeah, oh yes.
What kind of man was he?
One of the best old fellows you ever saw. And to me, to talk to him, you wouldn't know him. You wouldn't know who he was. That is, you know, to see the statue he was. Hell, he never come to Oklahoma City. I've got to see that great horse, that white horse there,
Yeah.
and others. He never come down like he could even come to see them horses. They pictured me in the state house over here in Oklahoma City. I worked for 11 years out there in Oklahoma City.
In the Oklahoma City oil field?
Yeah, Oklahoma City all.
What'd you do in the oil fields?
Oh my God, man. Big pit, whole pipe, and I got to say this. I've got 3 more of the thing for them.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Would you tell me the difference between a standard rig and a rotary rig?
Yeah. A rotary rig is for the electric drilling. A rotary rig and have a turntable in there. And that big thing down there, turn that. And they got machinery. Tell you all that. But a cable to the rig is just like a wire line over it. And then I wish you could see me sometime a year or two back before I was lost from that. Would you believe it? I tell you that I, not just I, we was in less than, I'd say a quarter of a mile of the rig right south of the Drumright. And when they hit the pay dirt, they called it, it blew them tools out of the hole, took off, and the folks got there. I've got pictures of them boys. And blew them tools and planted tools on save my life, and a long drilling tool, and they drilled it and all, all put together, the jars and all put together, was a big team load. And he loaded them out through the rig, pulled the rig down and loaded them the full length of the building line. And that well flowed. I seen more oil run down the creek. Low ground down like that. And I wasn't the only one. And lots of people ever saw. And it went plumb into the river. Next week, oh, he was.
How many men work on a cable tool rig?
A cable tool rig, about 4 at a time.
What does each man do?
Well, they start the old bits, and big old bits take a machine. They had to handle them with a bit, or the drill bit, weighed 5, 6, 700 pounds, and held it that big spot.
How far is that drill bit dropped each time in the standard rig?
Oh, they got where they drop them somewhere around 7 feet. I'd hear that talk, you know. I couldn't tell you much about that, because I never worked. I played work on one of them. I started, well, I never worked a team.
What'd you do after the oil fields?
Oh, I bought the tractors and got too slow for horses. And I bought the tractors, farmed a little, raised cattle. But I worked for the Sinclair and the tractors, for 7, 8, 10 years. I never quit work. The last picture of my little tractor. I never quit tractor work. I passed 96 years old, way up on that little little tractor, way up there. I never quit working. I passed 96 years old.
96. Huh. What are the photographs up here? The horses?
That was the pulling contest. The horse up there, that bus.
Yeah, just a second. What's the other picture up here of the horses? What are they doing?
Them was just 3-year-old. I was just racing them.
Son has all your photographs?
Yeah, he's got a whole lot of my pictures.
Where does he live?
Oh, he lives at Yale.
What's his name?
He's working for some automotive, some big outfit here. I can't say it for. He belongs to
What's his name?
Jackson.
Jackson?
Kenneth Jackson.
Kenneth Jackson.
Yeah.
That's your grandson in Yale? That's your grandson that lives in Yale?
No, that's where he lives. He lives 5 miles north of Yale.
Yeah, okay.
Yukon, I mean Yukon.
Oh, Yukon.
Yeah. I said Yale.
Yeah.
No, north of Yukon.
Well, Mr. Davidson, I think we have a good interview.
Well, I wish I knew but said it more.
Oh, you've done pretty good.
I've been burned about half burned, bad burned.
Yeah.
There's been 52 different bunches burned up with me.
You know, this is the second time we've talked to you.
Huh?
You know, we talked to you once before.
Did you?
Yeah. And the certificate up on the wall, that's the one we gave you. We talked to you back in '82.
Yeah.
That's when you lived in Midwest City.
That little bitty old tractor I sit on it. So my daughter-in-law, my son's wife, helped me off that. Today, I'm 96 years old. I've never been back.
Okay. Sir, thank you. It was the first, that was Charles Haskell.
Huh?
Charles Haskell.
You don't believe it. It's hard to believe it. I don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly. I don't know how I can. Well, my roommate in the other hospital where I was, back home, he couldn't talk. And he had brothers older than him that's fine, but he couldn't talk. And I don't know what brought the talk up, but anyhow, why, his mama and daddy were well-to-do people, contractors, wealthy, and organized people. And they got talking to me about back history, you know, and so they come around to this, and they go back to college, high school in Edmond, Oklahoma, and you don't know how many people that don't know who I was governor of Oklahoma was.
Who was he?
Huh?
Who was he?
Governor Haskell.
Yeah. Did you know him?
Not personally, but I met him in a state of Oklahoma. That is local distance. I was there when he was inaugurated.
You were.
I wasn't that fast, but we had moved that gas where they were going to build that new cement plant about 6 miles south. And we heard all the filmers do, and we heard all the noise, you see. And then she had the banners on past the train on the Rock Island Railroad. And then later years, I made it here several times with Mr. Phillips. And he'd have them picnics, and he was there once or twice with Uncle Frank Phillips. We called him Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank, he's his uncle to all of us. You'd be to see him with us, Washington, you wouldn't know him. You wouldn't know him, Frank Phillips.
Did you know Bill Murray?
Huh?
Did you know Bill Murray? Did you know Bill Murray?
Oh, yeah. Old school back with Bill. Well, wait, I'll go back a little bit. You remember when he drilled the first well in Oklahoma City, above Oklahoma City at the top?
Was that the Discovery well?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was in.
You know who done it? Bill Murray. You know what they told him? I heard it told. He told me he was going to drill a well on that state ground if he had delivered Malaysia. And me and Eddie Wilson. And well, they made him Prince of Power to dig the first pit for that discovery well. And old Bill Murray drilled it on the Malaysia too.
Was that the well on the Capitol ground?
That's the Capitol well. That's what brought us to the hot south.
What kind of man was Bill Murray?
A little old dried up fella through the background where it out and one of the best old fellas ever seen if he likes you. He didn't like you, hell, you better look out. I saw more of him than ever I met, that is, that little while. And he was just what he was. I went up there once to see him about some of the ones now. And when it come time to go in, when they died, that Daggers took her down and there wasn't no view to look at as well as I. And I said, good morning, Uncle Bill. He was way older than I. I said, good morning. He said, may I help you? I said, I hope you can. I told him what I wanted. It would be about $800 state money, me and my buddy, you see, for state work we done for the state. And I handed him my collateral, you know. I said, and over the club, wrote me out a check. State money.
Yeah.
And all the damn heap stuff in himself. The best government I ever had. Oh, I just like the deal where they sat down and said it. Them companies, a lot of them companies were stealing the people buying that own the royalties, you see. There's somebody lay line from a tank to another tank somewhere else and transfer that oil on the ground unbeknownst to everybody that never did know. And our whole pipeline was, my team was about 2 teams, the whole pipeline that he made them take up and destroy.
Is that Bill Murray?
Isn't that nice? And 1 or 2 of them, I don't reckon they got out of 10 cents yet. They were stealing that royalty oil.
That's right.
No, I'll fight for Bill Murray.
Were you there whenever he called out the militia?
Huh?
You know, he called out the militia on several times.
He told me that well.
Yeah.
He told me to do it on the message. And that's what I did. And they guarded us out for 2 days.
How come they had to use the militia to drill the well?
Well, the state was going to let them. Some part of them was going to line to do it. And he just got us all started with the mission. Then there was nothing they could do about it. And now that well, if you want to know, there ain't nobody knows any more about how that, you know more about how it was done. But that well, that's where old capital getting the soil from, all the riches, ain't where that really is sold. It's right on almost the center of the Capitol building itself.
How'd you dig it?
Huh?
How'd you drill it?
With a quick shot. And that south, 2 or 3 blocks south of Oklahoma City, where the 2 different oil companies built had 1 whole block there, east and west. And these rich people didn't want that place to tore up with oil. You probably know where it is. Black people didn't know that. Well, here come the sunray on one side, the north side, and the filter on the other had the oil leads on the other property, you see. That's because. And they went drilling that, me and my buddy was digging the pit, with the filter and others. And they drilled that and got all the oil. And then they filled up the tail and and I guess the last I knew of, they still in the lawsuit over it. Then people trying to gain their royalty.
Okay. Mr. Davidson, I want to thank you. I've enjoyed this.
Well, I've been
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I come up the hard way. I done just finished. When I was 12 years old, I'd been 12 years old and old, and my father hired me out to an old rancher to herd cattle. And I think the best I can get is I got $12 a month and my board and steady, you see. And the first day I stayed around the ranch, you know, and herd around no fences, you see. I started west of Clayton, Nebraska, in the wild country. And I stayed there. I was 18 years old with him. And when I quit at 18 years old, by in October, when they all shipped out, I went home and I never did go back. I've slept out my old cattle many a time. And there's something up there. People don't know as much about the weather as an old cow. An old wild horse. And I brought this up, and it's true. If you hurt that and lay down overnight for your cattle, they'll never lay down to the tired because of the night. And you see an old cow or a wild horse, I had 5 all the time to ride. No feed, that much. Then you see an old cow go with a horse, wild horse, go lay down overnight for go to bed, or he's in town around, go this way, sniff that. Now you never did get a chance. They'll never lay down till they sniff that air. That's the way. And when he lays down, if he lays down whichever way he's back, it's that way or that way or that way. That's where the leaves are going to be from. And if there's going to be a storm, they'll run and play, and they won't lay down like storm doors. They won't lay down like storm doors. Now that's what we got that cover. That's what we went. That's what helped me get all that. An old cow, a wild cow, an old horse, wild horse, which is a wild animal, will tell you more about the weather. They'll warn you about the weather. Now people don't believe that. I'm a member of it. I had heard a month or two get letters from him, weatherman.
Okay, sir, thank you. This is July 13th, 1987.